Park in Avondale, Louisiana, the place for speed. This is the place to be. And this is Prep Recruiting Insider on WHNO TV 20. Hi, I'm Ro Brown. Thank you for joining us. And we have an action-packed show for you again this week. Last week, my partner in crime, Renee Nadeau, was absent. And as I said, it took 3 people to replace him. Tip of the hat to the guys who did the job last week.
I'm sorry I missed
Lou Valden and J.J. McCleskey and Mike Detillier. Nene, good to have you back.
Oh, it's great to be back. I'm sure did a great job, and I'm sorry I missed the party y'all had last week.
All right, so this is post-championship week show, we should call it. That's a good way to look at it. So let's go to the scoreboard and take a look at what went on at the Louisiana Superdome. Before we tell you about who our guests will be tonight, the select scores, LHSAA Division I. Look at that. It was the Rummel Raiders coming away with the state championship with the win over Bird.
And Rummel just, you figured they had to find a way to win. They did. Came away with a 1-point exciting game. John Curtis, dominating win over University. Calvary did a game a couple of weeks ago, and they got a powerful team. And St. Frederick, that was an exciting game as well, and a little closer than the score indicator, really.
Those last two, yeah, they were pretty much blowouts. But tip of the hat to John Curtis again. State title, number 26, doing it over a very good University Lab team. Now let's go to the non-select championships, and we'll start right up there up top. Parkway and Acadiana. Wow, Acadiana put up 77 on Parkway. Woo!
I had to take my shoes and socks off to add that up a little bit, but East Jefferson, we're going to talk a little bit more about that. What an exciting game that was. Union Parish, Livonia had a story on that. And, those other 2 games, they were all exciting games. Even the ones that were high score and they had it was always exciting,
Kinder with the upset win over Manny in that one, and that was a very good ball game. We should mention that we will focus this afternoon on the 4A class championship game. 38-28. It was the East Jefferson Warriors undefeated 15-0, getting by the defending state champions of Edna Karr, the Cougars. What a ball game that was. We will have head coach Nick Salter-Formaggio and a couple of his stalwarts, and we'll also have Coach Nathaniel Jones of the Karr Cougars and a couple of his players who you'll be hearing a lot about in subsequent weeks. And you had a pretty good story to tell about what went on with the Union Parish situation.
I had the fortunate circumstance to do a Union Parish game early this year. That's up in Farmerville, long way away, a little small town. And when I pulled into town, I saw a lot of 33, the number 33, and Jaleel, saw the name Jaleel. When I got to the field, there was a black ribbon and a number 33 on the playing field. And I found out it was Jaleel Gibson, who had broken his neck in an accident during spring practice, a running back, and had died a couple of days later. They dedicated the whole season to Jaleel Gibson. And they make it all the way to the Superdome, play against Livonia, fall behind, catch up, tied up at 27 apiece, and lo and behold, they win the game 33-27. They dedicated their season to Jaleel Gibson, and they won it for Jaleel Gibson, the 12th man on the Union Parish state champion team of 2013.
What a story that was. We're going to take a break right here. This is Prep Recruiting Insider from NOLA Motorsports Park, our post-championship show. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to Prep Recruiting Insider with I'm Ro Brown and Renee Nadeau. We are at NOLA Motorsports Park in Avondale, Louisiana. Come on out, great place, lots of fun. You like driving karts and everything, this is the place to be. The Superdome was the place to be last weekend because it was the LHSA Superdome Classic, and what a classic it was. The Class 4A championship game was truly a classic. And Renee, we are so proud and honored to have a guy who, why are you smiling so much lately? What is your problem? Okay.
I'm just happy to have a job.
Why are you smiling
He
so
looks like he
much?
slept with a hang in his mouth.
Right.
I saw him last Monday, we visited.
Yeah,
and I did a game, and I told Salt, I said, Nick, you look like you're the cat that ate the canary. He knows something that nobody else knows. It's almost like he knew the score 1 week in advance.
Nick Salter-Formaggio, the head coach of the Warriors of East Jefferson High School. State champions in the 4A class, 15-0, the first state football championship in the history of the school. Congratulations, my man.
Thank you very much, Ro. Appreciate it. It was hard earned, but we're a rightful champion.
It wasn't an easy road, and it was pointed out to me that you guys beat the state champion 3 years ago, Franklinton.
Right.
You beat the state champ 2 weeks ago, Neville.
Correct.
From 2 years ago, and you beat the state champion last year, Karr. So they threw as many roadblocks at you as they possibly could.
They really could. You know, I think most people know, and it's been said that the 4A non-select was probably the most difficult of all the 9 state champions. It was probably the truest of all the 9 state champions, and we just happened to have to peel the orange the hard way, I guess, so to speak. You know, even before that, I have to say hats off to a very, very talented, very well-coached Warren Easton football team, who we had to beat in the quarterfinals, who is going to be a tough out next year. Looking forward to the 2014 prep season. They have a lot of good players.
Absolutely. I can remember during the year people were saying, yeah, East Jeff is undefeated, but they haven't played anybody.
Right.
And my reply to that was, yeah, if that's true, you may be accurate, because they're beating people pretty badly. Right. So maybe they aren't playing anybody, but maybe it means something that they are beating these people badly. And I think it's turned out that way because later in the season, when you played people who are supposed to be tough teams, and they are, here you are, the last man standing.
You know, our kids really did a great job, Ro, of staying focused to themselves. And we never worried about what people were saying about us. We couldn't control that. And we didn't really worry about who our opponent was and what they did. We couldn't control that. You know, we could control East Jefferson football, and that was what we did. And I was telling Renee earlier, one of our kids said, he was asked, could you go 15-0? And he said, I didn't think we'd go 15-0, but I was pretty sure we were going to go 1-0 for 15 weeks. And that's kind of what you're looking for.
Yep.
The thing is, you've been on this show before, and you've been doing a bunch of things all week since the state championship. And this was a team that was blessed with a lot of talent.
Right.
But this was a chemistry team, wasn't it, Saul?
Absolutely. The Jefferson Parish All-Star football team is practicing in our place. And I told Willie Brooks yesterday, I said, it's the things that people don't know that went on inside the locker room that was the key to us winning. I'm not going to send that information out because I like to keep a little bit private, you know, but, you know, really the kids liked each other. They loved each other. They loved the community. And I miss it. I sit in my office now and that locker room's empty and the equipment's been picked up. And you know, that's the only time the smile leaves my face, is to know that the Jamal Vize's and the Eugene Wells's and the Ruben Gutierrez's and all those seniors are no longer a part of our football program from a physical standpoint now. Spiritually and emotionally, they'll always be in that locker room for me, but it's hard for me to look out there now and look at those empty lockers.
Was playing in the Superdome Classic in the Superdome, you know, forget the outcome of the game, being there, was it all you imagined?
It was beyond what I could imagine. You know, first thing, I was telling Gary Barbaro, you know, the crowd, the East Jefferson crowd was insanely huge. And our kids and myself really got emotional when we saw that crowd coming out of the locker room. And I thought it would overwhelm us a little bit, but as soon as we got to the sideline, it was back to business. And you know, even playing in the Superdome, our kids stayed the course and did what they needed to do to be successful.
Well, you know, we did the broadcast, and I love Nathaniel Jones and his Karr guys, and they've been on the show many times, and I think the world of Speedy and Gerald and those guys. But you know, the way this was drawn up, that you were the guys were the underdogs, and you didn't belong there maybe, or it may keep it close, but when you finally had that field goal, and when Jamal returned that interception for a touchdown, I'm thinking, Rocky Balboa just landed a knockout shot into Apollo Creed, and he's not getting up.
I'll tell you a great moment for me in my life, try not to get choked up thinking about it, was, you know, when Leonard intercepted that ball, George Ryan was standing next to me, and he'd been coaching for 40-something years, and he started getting really emotional. And I looked at him and I said, George, I think we just won the state 4A championship. And he'd already been counting the seconds on the clock saying, yeah, we just have to take a knee. We just have to take a knee. And I mean, it all kind of set in, and it's just something, you know, forever in my life with the guys we won it with, coaches and players. it means just so much.
Yeah, specifically, and I know you're talking about what I call those old people on your staff, like George Ryan and Mark Martin and Kenny Rappman. Those
Absolutely.
guys who had been around the game for a while, you
Yeah.
know, playing the game for a while and coaching the game for a while. So yeah, I could see how that
Yeah.
would make you emotional.
It was great, Ro. I mean, there wasn't anything about it from the school, the kids in the school, our administration, the alumni. There was not anything about it that I can't take away with me and say, you know, I wish we would have done this or we should have done that. It was a great week of coaching, of preparation, and just so much came out of it positive that it has changed our school. It's changed the way people look at East Jefferson High School. I know that in my heart.
Your principal was a really good football player at East Jefferson High School. What did it mean to Jimmy Carter?
Oh, it meant the world to him. Going back to the semifinal game, he always told me what kind of athlete he was. And I remember when Isaac kicked the winning field goal, to see him run after that football, you just know how much it means to somebody, because it was cold and wet, and he was running after that ball like he was Usain Bolt. You know, he just gone. And you know, he's been walking around, you know, as a proud peacock, and rightfully so.
You guys, when you were on a few weeks ago, we called you, you've become the hunted. And now you may be the hunted for those banquet circuits and those speaking engagements and stuff. How are you going to separate? After Super Bowls, it's so hard for the coaches and players to keep in their own world and not lose perspective of where they came from. How tough is that now, where everybody is calling your phone and pulling at your coat and come here, Saul, come there, can you do this? How tough is it now, living a normal life?
Right, it's really hard. I told my wife yesterday, I said, you know what, this has really changed me completely. It kind of validates you as a coach. Well, it does validate you as a coach, but you know, forever and ever and ever, I told her I'd go to the Superdome Classic and sit in the stands, and first thing I'd look at the teams that had won it and the coaches' names next to it. And I'd always wonder, am I ever going to be in this book? Can I even get in this book on either side? And now you're in the book. You're in that book forever and ever.
You are in the book. Nick Salter-Formaggio, the head coach of the state champions, the East Jefferson Warriors. Congratulations to you, my man. And I disagree with my partner here. You can't be an underdog and be 14-0 and beat the teams that you beat during the playoffs. So I wasn't buying the Rocky Balboa. I wasn't buying that one. All right. This is PRI, Prep Recruiting Insider. We'll be right back with a couple of the very talented East Jeff Warriors. Welcome back to Prep Recruiting Insider from NOLA Motorsports Park in Avondale, Louisiana. This is our post-championship show, we'll call it that, and we are very happy to have with us a couple of players from the 4A state champions, the Warriors of East Jefferson. Renee Nadeau is here with us. Renee, who's to your left there and your far left?
A couple of hogs, the guys I like that make all those holes and make those long runs look real pretty.
Yeah.
Tackle Chris Cochran to my left, and to his left, Ruben Gutierrez, the center, who we now call for the East Jeff Warriors up front, and these guys did a pretty good job keeping Eugene Wells kind of clean and opening those holes so those running backs can make those 60 and 70-yard runs.
That's right question, guys. How does it feel to be state champions? Chris?
It's indescribable. I mean, it's amazing. Yeah, I mean, nothing in the world can ever replace this for me. I mean, I'll never have this moment again.
Mm-hmm. Ruben?
It feels good just under that it's not only good for us, but the community, because we also made history. And it just shows that EJ has come a long way, and we could do good and keep it going.
Where was EJ 4 years ago? And where were you individually, you guys individually 4 years ago? You know, make the compare, tell me.
I was a freshman, and I didn't even sniff the field as a freshman. I mean, 7-3. I mean, it wasn't first loss in round of the playoffs to come from freshman to senior year and to go all the way 15-0. It's awesome.
Ruben, where were you 4 years ago?
I wasn't even playing.
Oh, really?
I was in the bleachers, to be honest.
Really? When did you start playing?
My junior year, I came out, because when I was young, I didn't really see it as a big thing at EJ. So my sophomore year, I decided to come out and try it out. It turned out pretty good.
Yeah, I'd say it turned out pretty good.
You know, Chris has really overcome a lot. 3 knee injuries, right, Chris?
Yes, sir.
And he just stuck to it and played tackle, started tackle. You're getting some looks right now. Louisiana Tech has won it. I know you're a good zone blocker, good in the weight room. You may move inside to guard. What's the recruiting process? When are you going to make up your mind where you're going? How's it been for you, and how have you separated that from everything else?
Everything's just going to come out with school. It's going to be with if they're going to have the program that I want for my education. That's how it's really going to balance out. If it doesn't have what I want to do, then why make that choice just for football? When I don't know if football's going to take me my whole life, I gotta have that backup plan where, okay, I need to learn how to make money in other ways than just football.
Ruben, same thing with you. I know Northwestern State, Arkansas, Monticello. What is the process with you? Who are you talking to, and when is the process going to come to an end?
Like those schools you said, it's just I have to make sure I focus on my grades right now before I try to focus on my future, because I still have to get my high school degree. So I try to do that. We're in exams right now, so it's an important week. So when it's all said and done, I will see what college I would prefer to go to, so I can make my better choices in the future time.
You know, you guys won a state championship football game, but it represents a little bit more to some people. Has anyone come up to you and verbalized that, I saw what you guys did and it meant a lot to me, it maybe helped me get, because you represented a lot of people what hard work can overcome. Chris, start with you. Has anyone come up to you and verbalized any kind of message?
I was at Walmart, matter of fact, last night, and he said he was an alumni, and he's been following us all year, hoping that we could do it. And he said he got real emotional after this game because it just brought him back into EJ. It just brought him back into his high school years, him playing football and everything. And he just said it meant a lot to him of what we did with this football team. I mean, we came a long way. We came a long way.
Ruben, anybody verbalize what hard work pays off at the end of the road? There's a light at the end of the tunnel?
Everybody, wherever I go, if I got this Letterman on, from the mailman to me even driving, just people ask me to roll down the window, ask me if I played for them, just congratulating me wherever I go. So it's a good feeling to know that everybody's proud of the team and what we've done.
Ruben, you have a center on this team. What does it mean when you hear coaches say that he makes all our calls?
It just means that we have good communication, which what you're supposed to have between the quarterback and the center. I give all the calls to the line, so we execute and we can do what we have to do to win games.
So you tell them what the quarterback says, or what?
Right. It's just a whole nother alphabet or whatnot on the offensive line, so for what he calls to what I call, so we can just execute and do what the coaches tell us to.
How good is Eugene Wells?
I think it speaks for itself. I mean, he's a good athlete. He's a good athlete. He might not go to the next level play quarterback, but he's a great guy to have on your team. He's real motivated to win, and he motivates you to also want to win with him on a team. So he's a good teammate to have.
How good is Ronald Green?
Go
on, Chris, you take it.
The stats speak for itself, Coach. I mean, he's a cool dude. I mean, he's not going to just let you hang there. He's going to help you out. He's going to show you in the right direction. He's not going to let you sit there and be by yourself neither. He's going to come to you. If he sees you sitting at lunch, he's going to come to you and he's going to make himself known. He's just all around great guy.
In the last 30 seconds, Chris, chemistry played a lot in this team winning, didn't it? What did it mean? How can you describe how close this team was as a family?
I don't even know, Coach. It's just we've been together for 4 years, like I was saying, and we stuck together. We knew what the prize was, and we knew it was at the end of the tunnel, and we just kept pushing, no matter how hard it was. We just didn't stop. We never gave up.
Offensive lineman Chris Cochran, Ruben Gutierrez, state champions, the East Jefferson Warriors, 4A state champions. Guys, congratulations. Thanks for joining us here on Prep Recruiting Insider, and good luck to you for the rest of your lives.
Thank you, Coach.
This is PRI, Prep Recruiting Insider from NOLA Motorsports Park. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about the 4A classification state championship game. Welcome back. Where there is a winner, well, there's a loser. But in this particular case, no real losers, because the team that ended up on the short end of the stick on this day, the Edna Karr Cougars, what a season they've had, what a 4 years they've had. And we are happy, Renee Nato, to have a guy who I think is, who has shown himself winning or losing, is one of the classiest guys in high school football around here, Coach Nathaniel Jones. Good to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Not the way you wanted it to turn out, but in the grand scheme of things?
In the grand scheme of things, God is still on the throne. You know, you live and you learn, and our guys learned some valuable lessons. You know, like we spoke about the game prior to the game, it was it's going to be the little things, and if you're disciplined and you do the things the right way, good things will happen. And if you don't, you know, you have to deal with the consequences. And we came up a little short, but I'm proud of our guys. They played hard, they worked hard all season, and you know, we got the senior guys are getting ready to get geared up to go to college, and getting those young guys to come back and make a run at it again.
You know, I've spent a little time with you, Nathaniel. I know you're a man of faith, and and when the Lord throws something at you in front of you, you know, you learn from it. And this is something that I guess, what has the team and yourself maybe learned from the whole experience overall, from the whole season included?
I think just you have to be consistent with doing the right thing. Coach Salton and those guys did a great job. You know, storybook ending for them. You know, if you're going to lose, you want to lose to a guy like that. But just, you know, you have to stay the course. I thought we were really, really disciplined in the Landry Walker game, and I don't think we were as disciplined when we played EJ. And so you learn about being consistent, and, you know, that's what we'll take from it, and hopefully next year we'll be more consistent throughout.
You got a pretty good team coming back. You're losing a lot, but you got a pretty good team coming back. And, you know, we talked before about you just don't roll a football out there and guys play. You have to coach them. What kind of team might the Karr Cougars have in 2014?
I think we'll be just as explosive on the offensive end. Defensively, I think we'll have guys that really have to step up as far as our linebacking core, but I think our secondary will be really probably maybe even better than we were this past year. And we have Isaiah Washington coming back, and he'll probably step in the role of a Gerald Willis, and so he's a big-time player. So we'll have guys. You know, I don't think we'll ever run out of talent. It's just we got to make sure now that we're ready to do the little things more consistently. So we feel real good about next year.
We're talking to Nathaniel Jones, head coach of the Karr Cougars, and I don't want to make this seem like you had a failure of a season because you did not win the state championship, because that is not true at all. You came up with a lot of accomplishments this year. Talk about them as your first year as the head coach at your alma mater.
Well, you know, when young men decide, hey, I want to go to Karr, you say I want to go to Karr because I want to, first of all, get my academics. You want to get the books, and it's one of the best schools in the city, if not the best school in the city. And then from there, you talk about your social life and the athletics. You come to Karr and you want to win a state championship. So anytime we don't win a state championship, it is disappointing. You know, that's our goal every year. Just like next year, our goal is to win a state championship. So it was a phenomenal year, and just hopefully we'll get it done next year.
You arrived back in January. You took the job in January, if I remember. Why is Nathaniel Jones a better person, a better coach today than when you arrived? Because you had a lot of coaching experience coming here.
Right.
Why are you a better person? How's that improved you, Nathaniel?
Just, you know, it's those life lessons. You know, I go back and evaluate myself first, you know, and say, okay, what could I have done to put us in a better position to win, not only on the field, but off the field as well, because we're still dealing with young men and helping them to grow and develop. And it's an ongoing process. And so, you know, like I tell a lot of guys, and I told my principal when we were speaking about the job, I said, you know, I'll be able to tell if I've really done a great job 5 years from now when these guys like Donnie Alexander, Gerald Willis, you know, Anthony Jones, and all those guys, if they're better men for the experience that they had at Karr. So we're still in that process of developing men, and you know, then I'll know exactly how good of a job I did.
Nathaniel, what was your personal highlight of this season?
I have several.
Sounds like getting bit. Okay.
You know, I could
You
say.
don't have to give me just one.
I
I'll
could
take
say
more than one.
Juwan Offering, he's a cornerback for us, and you know, at the beginning of the year, he's chirping and he's talking, and you know, he's a typical diva corner, right? And you know, one of the great things is to see him develop as a young man to where now it's not so much talk, it's now more focus. And I feel real confident with him going to Oklahoma State that he can actually go there and not only just survive, but actually thrive. So that's one of the things that stands out to me, the development of the young man.
You got a team, you know, the thing is you don't just win with talent, you win with chemistry. And this is a special group of guys. You got guys coming back. What was that family type atmosphere in that locker room with the Karr Cougars this year?
I think initially the guys were trying to just get to know me, you know, and then I think they're like, this guy's crazy. And then, you know, and then it's like, this guy's crazy, but he's a good guy, you know, and then it becomes to where now we're family and, you know, Coach, you know, like all the guys after the game, they're like, Coach, we love you, man. Thank you, you know, for everything. You know, and I don't think it was the football stuff that they were thanking me for. I think it was the off the field things that you talk about. So.
Okay, it's a different point in your life, so it might be hard for you to answer this question. But 20 years ago, you were on the other side.
Right.
In a final game like this. You were a child then. 20 years later, grown man.
Right.
You're on the other side. Compared to?
As a young man, it was just pure elation, you know, but the expectations were the same. You know, you used to cover us when we were a junior high program, and we would go to the state championship, and you know, I remember, you know, Sam Mills came and spoke to us, and just, you know, it was just, you know, the expectations. The expectations are still here as a coach. I think I understand the process better.
Right.
You know, I understand exactly what we're trying to get out of it, more so than I did as a young man. It was just probably all about football back then. You know, now it's more about the development of the men, the character of the men that we're trying to build character in. So I think that's where the growth has come.
Well, it's really easy to talk to people on camera when you win, but it's not always as easy to do it when you end up on the losing side of it. And I just want to compliment you for the way that you've handled these last few days, or you know, immediately after the game and everything. I mean, I just thought that was one of the highlights of the Superdome Classic for me, the way that you and your kids did handle things later on.
Oh, thanks a lot.
And he's helped. I tell you what, he's been a tremendous help to the media, availability and things like that. And I want to compliment you publicly, and we've talked privately, but Nathaniel, you've really, really reached out. And I know times when that phone rings and people like myself have to ask you questions to make us smarter for a broadcaster show. You've made it very, very easy, man, and that tells me a lot about your character.
Well, I thank you guys for having us and just giving our program the exposure that you do.
Coach Nathaniel Jones, head coach of the Edna Karr Cougars, runners-up this year, state champions last year, and I have a feeling that as long as he is there at his alma mater, you could see Karr in the midst of things for years to come. This is Prep Recruiting Insider from NOLA Motorsports Park in Avondale, Louisiana. We'll be back with a couple of guys who may continue that Karr excellence. Hey, welcome back to Prep Recruiting Insider from NOLA Motorsports Park. We are at the event center once again. You got a meeting. It's just not speed here. You can hold your meetings, receptions, your parties, anything here. Lots and lots of space, 34,000 square feet. This is the place to be. Renee Nadeau is with me. And Renee, who do you have with you?
You know, I'm already looking forward to next year with recruiting. And these guys here are not only great football players, they're really good people. And I can't wait to, you're gonna hear a lot about both these guys, from Edna Karr, defensive lineman to my left, Isaiah Washington, defensive end, 3-tech, 5-tech. To his left is Devin Jackson, a tackle, can play guard, got great feet. And you're gonna hear all about these two guys for next year because they are going to be way at the top of the list, not only locally, statewide, but nationally as well. They really, really good players.
Isaiah, how much do you weigh?
I actually weigh 250.
250. Devin?
And I weigh 310.
Weigh what?
I weigh 310 pounds.
Okay, so we got over 500 pounds, almost 600 pounds of human being sitting to your left right there.
The thing is, both these guys are great recruits, and you know, they handle themselves very well, Ro. And Isaiah, you've had a chance to watch Speedy and Gerald and Donnie Alexander, these guys go through the process. How are you kind of setting yourself up with the help of Nathaniel Jones? How are you kind of handling this process right now on recruits and visits and things like that for next year?
Well, you know, I go there as a day-to-day basis. If I need help with anything, if I don't understand anything, I go to Coach Jones, I go to my dad, I especially go to Speedy, Gerald, Javon Williams, I go to everybody, because I have so many resources at my school that been through this, that I can easily go back and ask them what to do in this situation, how is this, what is this, you know, it's great.
Now you're going to be going, both you guys are going to be visiting San Antonio for the hope of playing an All-Star game next year in 2015. When will you start paring your list down and start looking at schools more serious, like this school is maybe a good fit, maybe not, things like that? When will you start that process?
I'll probably start my process as soon as possible. As soon as I get more detailed into my ACT and what my grades are looking like, that's when I'm going to start narrowing down my schools.
Devin, both you and Isaiah have really good grades, which is outstanding. Same thing with you. You guys are going to be visiting San Antonio for the All-Star game next year. When is the process going to start for you on where you're going to start looking at good fits? And how much has Gerald and Speedy and Donnie and those guys helped you kind of looking ahead?
Our process is probably going to start during the summer, once I start talking to more schools. And Donnie, G, and Speedy, they help me a lot. Like, I go to them whenever I need help recruiting, how to talk to a recruiter, make sure I have what they're looking for, make sure my grades are right, and make sure they're up.
A couple times you both have said you talk to players who are being recruited now, you know, including some high-profile recruits. You kind of touched on it just now, Devin, but what do you go to them for? What do they tell you? What do you ask them? What are you looking for from them? You know?
Most of the time, the main thing they tell me is to stay humble. Don't worry about the big name recruits. Don't worry about being ranked. It's all about what you produce on the field. And if you produce on the field what's great and what recruits are looking for, they're gonna come and get you.
Devin, what about you? I guess you kind of touched on it, but what do you expect from them?
I expect for them to show us the way they show us how to go through this, how to be about this. I mean, they show you, they tell you that hard work is key, that you can't just on the field show one thing, off the field act another. They show you the whole process and how to go about it the right way.
Coach Jones, playing for him, what's it been like? You look at each other when I ask that guy.
It's been excellent. I mean, he's a hard-working coach. This is his first year, and I think he's did a wonderful job bringing us back to a state championship. We only had 2 losses, but that's still good considering who we played against.
Isaiah?
Well, it's just been a great honor. You know, next year I feel that we're going to make it back to the state championship, no doubt. With this man, with our whole team that's coming back, that we're going to be physically and mentally coached by him. That's what he brings to the table, and that's what we love about him. That's why I know he got this job.
Isaiah, you're about a 6'4", 6'5" guy?
6'5".
Okay, and you run a 4.7 40. Talk a little bit about what do you feel like your skills, if you're talking to a recruiter, what do you bring to the table? What do you think your strengths are?
Well, straight off the bat, I'm going to stop the run. I have to stop the run. Then I'm going to beat you with a pass rush from the outside. And you're just not going to get around. You're not.
Okay, Devin, again, talking to a recruiter, you're about 6'4", about 310?
Right.
They're pretty close? Good feet, really good feet, could play left tackle. You're talking to a recruiter, what makes you maybe a special player? What do you bring to the table?
I mean, we run a spread offense, so I know I have to be able to pass that a lot. And my pass set, I think is very good. Make sure they can't get around the end, protect the inside. But I also run block, because when we have to run, when Speedy runs the ball, you have to sail the outside and make sure they get no push at all.
Now you got good pad level. I've seen you play good Z in the knee. Any recruiter knows what you're talking about. Good knee bend. Is that something you work on? Is that something that comes easy to you?
I mean, it comes easy to me, but I also have to work on it to make sure it's perfection. Coach Jones actually helps me out a lot with that, doing a lot of squats and a lot of leg work.
They are both 2015 Blue Chippers. You'll be hearing these names. You've heard them a little bit already, but you'll hear them even more next season. Defensive lineman Isaiah Washington, offensive lineman Devin Jackson. Guys, thanks for joining us here on Prep Recruiting Insider.
Thank you.
All righty, we'll be right back with more. We'll get to talk to our legend of the game, our Ronnie Lamarck, legend of the game, right here on PRI. Welcome back. I want to thank all the coaches and the players from East Jefferson High School and Edna Karr for appearing here on Prep Recruiting Insider. Now it is time for our Ronnie Lamarck, Legend of the Game. Our Legends of the Game segment is sponsored by, Ronnie Lamarck, who, as Ken Berthelot tells me, was a legend in his own mind. He said that, Ronnie, I didn't, at Chalmette High School, down there playing for Coach Nuss. But he is a good guy, and he sponsors our Legends of the Game. And we are very happy to have a true legend of the game here locally in New Orleans. He is a member of the Sugar Bowl Greater New Orleans Sports Hall of Fame, a proud graduate of East Jefferson High School, fittingly enough. Of course, he will want to talk about that state title that they won this past weekend. Nicholls State, Kansas City Chiefs Hall of Famer as well, which we'll touch on with Renee Nato. So happy to have Gary Barbaro on the show, our Ronnie Lamarck, legend of the game. Gary, how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for having me, guys.
How's my shirt look? My socks,
Good.
everything?
Your shirt's tucked in, socks,
cool.
everything. You're good to
Cool.
go
All
right now.
we can explain that later.
No
We'll have to
Yeah.
explain that later too, okay?
Yeah, we'll check on that later.
Am I right? Okay,
You're
all
good
right.
to go.
East Jeff winning. I know you've been far removed, but that brings a smile to your face. That means something special if you've ever put on a uniform with Gary.
Without a doubt. And those guys, those young men and Coach Saltimo Faggio, he did a fantastic job. And to see the alumni that were at the game actually on Saturday night, the smiles in their faces, you couldn't chisel them off with a jackhammer. I mean, everybody's so proud of what those guys did. And to do something that has never been done at that high school, and you look back at the talent that came across or came through that facility,
Sure.
This is quite an honor. They deserve a big pat on the back.
Gary Barbaro was an outstanding safety with the Kansas City Chiefs, and of course was one of the first movers to the USFL. We want to talk about that a little bit later too, but, and I mentioned the Hall of Fame, you and the Chiefs Hall of Fame, Ring of Honor and everything, and that happened this year. Congratulations.
Thank you
How
very
was that
much.
experience?
Awesome. I mean, if after everything was said and done, if they gave me a sheet of paper and said, write down what you would change, it'd be a blank sheet of paper. They treated us like royalty. I was able to bring friends and family, former coaches up to Kansas City. They only induct one player a year, and I was selected this year to be the 43rd inductee. And that entire weekend is just, I look back on it, it was flawless. And they do a dinner on the Saturday night before the game where they actually make the formal presentation. And then during the game on Sunday, at halftime, they actually make a presentation of a framed jersey. And then your name is revealed in the Ring of Honor in the stadium. So unbelievable. It was, I'm still pinching myself to go, did they really pick me to do this?
So let's put this in perspective, Renee. I mean, I'm going to assume that these people are there, like Willie Lanier and Buck Buchanan and Emmett Thomas, Lynn Dawson, Otis Taylor, and Gary Barbaro is up there.
Yeah, what doesn't fit there? I'm going,
What do you think?
Where's that
What do you
going?
think?
Lynn Dawson,
How does
maybe?
that make you feel? You know, I mean,
Well, I got elevated to a whole new level. You know, I had a good career in Kansas City, but when you start naming names like you just did, what an honor it really is to be associated in the same breath with those players that, and a number of them are in the NFL Hall of Fame. So I was pretty fortunate to have played along with Willie Lanier, Jim Lynch, Emmett Thomas, who was an on-field coach with me, played with me the first 3 years in the league. Quite an honor just to be around those guys and be associated with them and being in that Hall of Fame. it's like I said, I still pinch myself to make sure it's true.
1977, you're playing against the Seattle Seahawks. Have a record-setting interception right here, Gary, you can see. And what were you looking at? Did you see clear field in front of you? Did you know this was coming before it even happened?
We actually had worked on that play, and early part of the play, the strong safety was supposed to cover the tight end, and he took the run fake on the running back. And during the whole week of practice, every time he did that, I just backed off and picked up the tight end. I couldn't believe he actually threw the ball because I had pretty decent precision on the tight end. And once I grabbed the ball, it was just, let's go and see where it ends up. And that goal line seemed to back away from me. You know, my first 4 or 5 steps were really quick. The rest of it got really slow.
It looked like it was moving.
It was moving away from me. I wasn't catching it.
The thing with the Hall of Fame, too, is that was special to you is Clark Hunt, who is a son of Lamar Hunt, is a guy who was a ball boy when you were playing.
Yeah.
For him to have called you, how did that process go? He called you, actually, the CEO of the Kansas City Chiefs called you about the honor, didn't he?
He did. I got the phone call. Actually, my wife Karen and I were driving at the time, and got the phone call, and I looked at the number, and it was an 816. Well, I know it's Kansas City because I represent some companies that are located in the Kansas City area, but I didn't recognize this number. And when I picked up the phone, they said, "This is Clark Hunt." I'm going, this could be a good phone call. This could be. So by the time I pulled the car back on the highway after I drove off, when he told me he was just informing me that I was a 43rd inductee, I sat there. I thanked him probably 1,000 times in the first minute, and then I don't know what I said after that. But hopefully it was something intelligent. But I was really pleasantly surprised that I got that phone call.
Well, we didn't get a chance to go to Kansas City, but I'll say this. There was a celebration at Gary's camp a week or two before he went up to Kansas City, and that was fabulous. So if that celebration in Kansas City was anything like that party, Gary, you had a great time.
We had an awesome time. As I mentioned early on, there's not a thing that I would change. I mean, everything went so smoothly. The organization, Clark Hunt, his mom, Norma Hunt, they were so gracious and generous with everything that was involved with it. We had about 35 people who went up to the induction, friends, family, former coaches, and they included them in every aspect of that induction. It was phenomenal.
You heard me mention USFL, we mentioned that to some of the East Jefferson players. They didn't know what I was talking about. So the United States Football League, Gary was one of the first players who went over to the United States Football League, and I think you played for Trump or whatever it was, and the Generals. I'll get past that. You heard me mention, I asked Gary if my clothes were all right and everything was fitting, and then you may wonder why I asked Gary that. Why would I ask you that, Gary?
For the last 18 years, I've been one of 32 inspectors in the NFL that does uniforms and licensed apparel inspection for the NFL. And believe it or not, we have to make sure that the players wear the uniform correctly. It's amazing how many times they'll come out with their shirt tails untucked, they'll have their socks down where they're not supposed to be. This year, they've actually incorporated thigh and knee pads as mandatory parts of the equipment. I didn't know that was not a part of it when I was playing because everybody pretty much would wear the typical pads.
Right.
But this year, because players were not wearing the pads, they forced them as a mandatory part. And so that's a big part of what we have to do, to make sure not only do they have the pads in, but they have them in the correct spots because they will wear them in strange areas. I've seen knee pads between the thigh and knee, nowhere near the knee. And I'm going, guys, you got to get them close. But it's because there's so many licensees around the NFL that we want to make sure that not so much that they have licensed apparel on, but that they don't have an unlicensed product on the field that's visible.
Right.
Also, something else in the last 30 seconds or so, Gary. A couple of years ago, a couple of Saints players had red and green shoestrings. You had to tell them those things had to come off because it's not apparel, it doesn't fit the uniform.
Well, there's certain regulations they have to apply with, and one of the things is, from the bottom half of the leg, from the shoe up to about mid-calf, it's supposed to be a white part of the sock, and then team color above that. This was a game that was either on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, and a lot of the players came out with the red and green. And I couldn't force them not to wear it, but I told them that if you do this, you're going to be fined. Well, the referees got a phone call from the league office saying that any player with red and green after halftime will come out of the game. So needless to say, the red and green went away.
Gary Barbaro, our Ronnie Lamarck, legend of the game here on Prep Recruiting Insider. So good to see you again, man.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All righty, we'll be right back to close it out here on PRI right after this. That's our home. You see it right there, NOLA Motorsports Park, Avondale, Louisiana, 11075 Nicole Boulevard. 504-302-4875. That's 504-302-4875. NOLA Motorsports Park, Avondale, Louisiana. And yep, finally, an all-Louisiana bowl game. It's the 13th annual R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl. It's Saturday at 8 p.m. in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. It's the first all-Louisiana matchup in bowl history. The Tulane Green Wave taking on the Ragin' Cajuns of the University of Louisiana Lafayette. Visit NewOrleansBowl.org for tickets and information on all the week's activities. Got a big concert also before Charlie Daniels Band and Travis Tritt. And Renee Nato, you have a little news. Someone has made a commitment.
Yes, St. Augustine, Tim Dawson, a 6'1", 245-pound defensive end, has committed to Yale. He had a chance to go to Harvard, Dartmouth, Georgia Tech, Tulane, 4.5 GPA, so commitment to Yale from St. Augustine.
So he will be playing real college football, as I call it. That's it on PRI, Prep Recruiting Insider from NOLA Motorsports Park. We'll see you next week.